Hi everyone, it's Leilani. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be working on the first 3 prompts in Allie Edwards' project, Pieces of the Past. So I've never participated in one of these projects before. I know she's done Pieces of Me, Pieces of Home, and this one is Pieces of the Past. But whenever I heard her talk about this particular project, I was super interested, but I wasn't quite paying attention to like the community week of when everyone would be working on it. I believe it was last week, so like around the beginning of April 2022. So I'm a little bit late to the game, but not too bad. So as she's been posting her prompts and everything on her channel, I went ahead and ordered this traveler's notebook from her website. So I'll link that below. But yeah, it's just kind of your standard traveler's notebook. So about a 4x8 roughly sized album. And I don't work out of these too often, but I do like them. I especially like this one because the way that she set up the album is there is the actual prompt is written there in the middle of the page. As you can see, like this says prompt family of origin. So it kind of gives you a starting place. So you almost have the full size page on one side, and then the second page is kind of broken up into 2 pieces. There is also an extra couple pages in between each of the prompts. I adhered those pages together, which Allie also has, suggested and done in her album because I just don't need those extra pages. So that's something that you can do, or you could add more stuff. So anyways, before I get too far on in this project, the first prompt is family of origin. So you can see I'm keeping it super simple. I printed off this adorable photo of me and my parents whenever I was probably maybe not even 1 or around 1 years old. And I went ahead and printed that off just a little bit bigger. So I usually put in my computer 4.2 by 8.2 just so I have a little wiggle room. And I printed that photo off to be the full size of that page. And then I'm using some of the Heidi Swap Color Fresh collection. So I just used a little pattern paper and a couple embellishments from Vicki Boutin from the Color Study collection, and I added those on. So I'll just quickly read my journaling just in case you guys are interested in hearing my story. So here is my family of origin. So it says, my parents, Dave and Danny, met in Hawaii in the 70s. They dated and lived there for several years before ultimately moving to Memphis, Tennessee, following after my dad's parents in 1980. They got married at my mom's parents' home in Bend, Oregon in 84, and along came baby Lay in October of 1986. I'm the only child, and because of that, I have always been extremely close to my parents. They were always a great mix of parents and friends, always treating me like an equal, letting me know my opinions and feelings were always important and validated. Things weren't always perfect in our little bubble of the world, but we were in it together, just the 3 of us, always. So that's kind of a little backstory about my family of origin. And we're already moving on to the second prompt, which is most loved toy. So if you guys have been here for any length of time, you know that I love documenting things like this from my childhood. Toys, pop culture, stuff like that is right up my alley. So I've, of course, already done a couple different childhood projects over here, which I will add the playlist below if you haven't checked those out before. So this one I wanted to do a little bit different. So I am documenting this Big Bird stuffed animal that I had as a child. So actually the larger photo, that's a picture of Big Bird currently. So I still have Big Bird, and I took a photo of me holding him, and then I used the photo room app, and you can basically take the background out of your photo, which is really cool. So that's how that background is super white. So I did that photo and I printed it off at the 4x8, and then I've added a little bit of pattern paper to the other side, and that is a photo of myself where I'm holding the big bird. So I thought that that would be like a cute way to incorporate that into the album. So this one isn't that exciting of journaling, but I guess we'll just go with it and I'll read it to you as well. So it says, my favorite toy. Wow, growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, I could talk about childhood toys forever. I loved Polly Pockets, Barbies, Tamagotchi, Pogs, and every single troll doll. But one toy from my early childhood stands out as a solid favorite: my Big Bird stuffed animal. According to my parents, I took him with me everywhere. One of those, we left Big Bird at home, now we've got to turn around kind of toys. Also, I still have him to this day. Granted, he is a little banged up and is missing some fingers, but hey, he's still hanging on all these years later. So I was kind of excited to be able to kind of tell a different story about a toy that I have not mentioned before in any of my scrapbooks. And now we're moving on to the last prompt that I will be documenting today, and that is a childhood adventure. So as soon as I heard this prompt, I knew exactly what I was going to document. So whenever I was, I think, about 9 years old, I went on a trip with my grandparents, and we were gone for 6 weeks, which is a really long time. It was a good trip, but it was traumatic for me as a kid. I don't think I'm going to read all the journaling just because it's a little long, but basically that's what I talk about. I went on this trip. I was gone for 6 weeks. I went with one set of grandparents, and I also spent a month with my other set of grandparents in Oregon. So it's great, but it was in 1995. So we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have texting or anything. I often think back that if it was during this time, it would be so much better because the communication would be so much easier, because I was a really homesick child in general. I loved to be home with my parents, and so if I couldn't get in touch with them, like the second I called them, I'd be heartbroken, but maybe they would be busy at work and they couldn't grab their work phone at the time, or they would have been outside and, they couldn't grab the house phone at the time, even if they tried really hard to always be by the phone. So it was kind of a traumatic trip, but now that I'm older, of course, I appreciate that I was able to go on it because I got to see a ton of stuff and do a lot of things. So I had 3 photos from this particular trip. So what I did was I actually took a photo of 2 of the pictures together on my desk. So that's what the large photo is of. And then I was considering adding another smaller one into that top space with the pattern paper, but I decided against that because I just thought that it made it a little too busy, and I just like the simplicity right here. So as you see, I've been adding a little washi, adding a couple small embellishments, and it's just been really easy to get through these prompts, and I've super enjoyed doing this album. So I'm excited to have a kind of a different type of album about my childhood, where there's been kind of prompts given to me so that I've really been able to journal a little bit more about things, because I don't have any type of album like this currently. So I definitely am very appreciative of this project, and there's a couple other stories that I am interested. I wouldn't say excited, but there's a few other stories that I am happy to be documenting as we go. So I will definitely show you guys the next prompts next week in another video. So let me know if you are participating or did participate in this project. I think it's a really fun one. And let me know what you think about the album and the video and all that kind of good stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I just really love looking through it. I think that it's really fun. And, even though I don't journal a ton, I like that I was kind of challenged to do it throughout this album. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. Please consider subscribing, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, y'all.